Hello and welcome to this Norbord My Cabinet Guide video on how to assemble a standard 500 wall unit in the IT range. It's always best to assemble your unit on the cardboard box. That way you can protect the panels. Checking the components as we take them out of the box. We have a shelf, it's edged all the way around. Each wall unit in this range has two shelves. Then we have a top and a base panel. The groove is on the coffee bean side and the groove is where your back panel will go. So I put those to one side for the moment. Then I have my two end panels. Again, the end panels are edged all the way around. I lay it out like that and like that. What I've done now is laid my panels out so they're groove to groove. This gives me a left and a right hand end panel. Then I have a back panel. The back panel has two cutouts in it. These go towards the top of the unit and go around the wall fixing brackets. In each box there is an assembly guide. Please take the time to read this as there is useful information on here that will help you to build your unit. It also tells you what items are in the box and the minimum tools required to get the job done. So opening up my fittings pack. In the fittings pack you have 8 metal dowels, 8 cams, 2 wall fixing brackets, 2 wall fixing plates, 4 30mm screws that you use to fix your wall brackets to your unit, 2 hinges, 2 hinge plates, 2 cover plates for your hinges, 8 shelf supports, 4 15mm screws that you use to fit your hinges to your door, 2 25mm screws. Now these are used to join your two units together if you're joining units together. And lastly, you have 8 8mm wooden dowels. The metal dowel has a red sleeve. There are 2 reasons for this. The first is when you're turning it with a screwdriver, you can hold on to it to make sure that it goes squarely into your panel. And the second is that it means that when you insert your other panel into it, it means that it's a lot tighter joint. The metal cam has 2 arrows. There is a direction arrow, and this arrow here should always line up with the hole that's in the panel you're putting it in. The way the cam and the dowel work together is when you actually put your panels together, it's like this, and what you do, you turn the cam and it locks the 2 panels together. So you turn the cam and it all pulls it nice and tight together. You can use a cordless screwdriver to put the fittings in on your unit, but we would recommend a handheld screwdriver because that way when you're putting the fittings in you can make sure you don't over tighten them. Holding onto the plastic sleeve, you insert your metal dowels into your 5mm holes in your unit. You repeat for the other 3 holes and tap your wooden dowels in. Tap it until the sound changes. So that's pretty much that end panel prepared. I'm now going to do exactly the same for my right hand end panel. Now keeping the 4 30mm screws aside and the 2 wall fixing brackets, I can move everything else aside for the moment. I'm now going to fix my wall brackets. They go in these pre-marked, not pre-drilled holes. These holes are at the top of each end panel. They're also down the bottom. You don't use the ones at the bottom. it's only the ones at the top you need to use. Taking 2 of the 30mm screws, you insert them into your wall hanging bracket. These wall hanging brackets aren't handed, so you can fix this one to the right hand side or the left hand side. Sometimes it's easier to fit the hinge plates at this point. If you know that your unit's going to be right hand hung, then fix the hinge plates to your right hand end panel. If you know that it's going to be left hand hung, fix your hinge plates to your left hand end panel. I know I'm going to make this into a left hand hung unit, so I'm going to put my hinge plate into position. The groove should always point towards the front of the unit, and the screw that you use to join your 2 parts of your hinge together goes towards the back of the unit. So tighten down the screws now. Don't over tighten that screw. Same with the second one on the hinge plate. And repeat for the bottom hinge plate. Again, making sure that the groove is towards the front of the unit. Just to show you how the 2 parts of the hinge go together, there is a screw in the bottom of the hinge. This screw needs to be inserted into this groove. This groove needs to go around this screw, so it goes on like this. Once it's in the correct position, you just tighten up this screw, and that's what holds the 2 parts of the hinge together. Now I'm going to insert my cams into my base and top panel, ensuring that the arrow is pointing towards the raw chipboard edge of the panel. The second arrow is a directional arrow that you use for tightening the cam up. So just push it in like this. And repeat for the top. If you put the cam in incorrectly, and this one has the arrow pointing towards the centre of the unit, just take a screwdriver, turn it round so the arrow is pointing in the correct direction, i.e. towards the raw chipboard edge, and that's fine. I'm now going to put my top panel to my right hand end panel, ensuring that the groove corresponds with the groove in the end panel. Push it down. If necessary, use the rubber part of hammer just to tap it down into position. Repeat for the bottom one. Tighten the cams as you go. At this point, I'm going to slide my back panel into the groove. As I said earlier, making sure that the cutouts towards the top of the unit where your wall fixing brackets are. Okay, so I now put my second side panel on. Tightening it up. Okay, the next thing to do is to hang your unit to the wall, and you need to fix your wall fixing plates to the wall using the correct fixings for the type of wall you have. The wall hanging bracket can be adjusted up and down. This screw here gives you up and down adjustment, and this screw here pulls the unit back to the wall. You should always adjust the unit up and down before you pull it back tight to the wall. You need to fix the wall plate to the wall. The fixings for this are not supplied within your pack. If you're unsure of what type of fixings are required, then it's a good idea to consult an expert, or you could go into B&Q and ask their technical expert in store. Okay. I'm now going to fit my hinges to my door. So place the hinges in the 35mm cups. The doors are actually pre-drilled, so just take in one of the 15mm screws. Again, don't over tighten the screws into the chipboard. Repeat for the top hinge. So now I'm going to fit my door. I slide it in like this. As I said earlier on, ensuring that this screw goes in the groove on your hinge plate and this screw goes on the groove on your hinge. Just enough so it holds the hinge in position. And again, repeat for the bottom. Now this hinge can be adjusted 3 ways: up and down, left and right, or in and out. If you require to move the hinge in and out, you loosen this screw off here and the hinge then can be moved forward and backwards. Get it to the required position and just tighten that screw back up again. If you find you need to move the hinge up and down, loosen the 2 screws off that you tightened on for your hinge plate, like so. You can then move the hinge up and down. When it's in the correct position, re-tighten. Again, don't over-tighten these screws. And if you need to move the door left and right, you turn this screw clockwise, moves the door across the unit, anti-clockwise moves the door the opposite way. Okay, so I'm now happy that my door's in the correct position. The last thing to do, in each wall unit there are 8 metal shelf supports. On the back of each lug there are serrations that when you push this into the 5mm hole and you put your shelf on, it tightens up and they don't fall out. These shelf supports are great. If you put it in the wrong hole, you can just pull it out. So I'm now going to put my shelf on, and this has the coffee bean pattern on the front edge. So insert it in my unit like so. Do the one at the bottom as well. And that is the unit completed.